In the depths of a moonlit forest, where the canopy of ancient trees swayed with an eerie creak, I found myself venturing deeper into the heart of darkness. The dense undergrowth clawed at my clothes, leaving tattered shreds of fabric in its wake. Fear coiled around my heart like a vise, and a shiver ran down my spine as the full moon cast its pale glow upon the desolate landscape. I had come to this forsaken place for one reason alone, a reason that gnawed at the edges of my sanity with every passing day: the fear of becoming a monster. My name is Emily Sinclair, and I am a tormented loner, haunted by the whispers of the past and the shadows that danced in the recesses of my mind. I sought solace in the wilderness, hoping to find answers to the questions that plagued me. The night air was heavy with an otherworldly stillness, broken only by the distant howl of a wolf, a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurked in the darkness. As I ventured deeper into the forest, the trees closed in around me, their gnarled branches intertwining like bony fingers, creating an oppressive atmosphere. The ground beneath my feet grew moist and spongy, the stench of decay permeating the air. Strange, phosphorescent mushrooms sprouted from the decaying undergrowth, casting an ethereal glow upon the forest floor. Their sickly green light illuminated grotesque shapes, shadows that seemed to shift and writhe with a life of their own. A frisson of unease ran through me as I realized that I was now alone. Eyes, gleaming with feral hunger, glinted in the darkness. The forest was alive with unseen creatures, their presence a constant reminder of the tenuous hold I had on my own humanity. Paranoia gripped me, the feeling that I was being watched, hunted, becoming too difficult to dismiss. With each passing moment, the forest seemed to change, morphing into a twisted reflection of my fears. The trees contorted into monstrous shapes, their branches reaching out like skeletal limbs, ready to ensnare me. The ground writhed with a carpet of slithering creatures, their grotesque forms blending into the night. I stumbled, my breath coming in ragged gasps, as the forest closed in around me. And then I heard it, the low, guttural growl that sent chills coursing through my veins. It was a sound that spoke of feral instincts, of an unbridled hunger that could not be sated. I turned, my eyes widening in horror as I beheld the creature before me, a werewolf, its massive form silhouetted against the moonlit sky. Its eyes, burning with an unholy fire, locked onto mine, and a surge of primal fear coursed through my veins. The werewolf lunged, its snarling jaws dripping with saliva, and I ran. I ran as if my life depended on it, as if the very essence of my being was at stake. But the forest seemed to conspire against me, the trees closing ranks, trapping me in a nightmarish maze. I stumbled, my legs entangled in the undergrowth, and I fell to the ground. The werewolf closed in, its hot breath on my neck, its claws digging into my flesh. I closed my eyes, waiting for the inevitable, for the transformation that would turn me into a monster. But it never came. I opened my eyes to find the forest bathed in the soft light of dawn. The werewolf was gone, leaving no trace of his presence except for the scars on my body. I had survived, but the fear still lingered, the fear of what I might become. And as I limped out of that cursed forest, I knew that the battle was not over. The darkness within me still loomed, waiting to be unleashed. For in that forest, I had come face to face with the true nature of fear, the fear of becoming the very monster I had sought to escape. And now, with every full moon that graced the night sky, I would forever be haunted by the possibility that one day I might succumb to the darkness and lose myself entirely. She was about to fall asleep on the couch when the phone rang. It was past midnight, and she had just finished a long shift at the diner. She groaned and reached for the cordless phone on the coffee table. "Hello," she said, rubbing her eyes. There was no answer, only a deep, unsettling silence. She frowned and checked the caller ID. It was blocked. "Who is this?" she asked, her voice quivering slightly. Still, there was no response, just an eerie static noise. She hummed up and tossed the phone back on the table, feeling a growing unease in the pit of her stomach. She couldn't shake off the chilling sensation that something was terribly wrong. She closed her eyes and tried to ignore her rising fear. But then the phone rang again. Her heart skipped a beat, and a shiver ran down her spine. She opened her eyes and glared at the phone, dreading the thought of answering it. However, her curiosity and mounting anxiety got the better of her. With trembling hands, she picked it up and pressed the talk button. "Listen, you sicko. If you don't stop this right now, I swear I'll..." Before she could finish her threat, she was interrupted by a low, sinister chuckle. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. This wasn't a prank call anymore. This was something far more sinister. "What do you want?" she managed to utter, her voice barely audible. The breathing on the other end became heavier, louder, and filled with malice. "I can see you," a chilling voice whispered. "I know what you're wearing. I know where you live. You can't hide from me." A cold sweat broke out on her forehead. She glanced nervously around the room, feeling a sudden vulnerability in her own home. Every shadow seemed to come alive with lurking danger. Summoning her courage, she mustered a shaky voice. "Who are you? Why are you doing this?" But the only response she received was a sinister, bone-chilling laugh that echoed through the receiver, seeping deep into her soul. Terrified, she dropped the phone and rushed to the window, her heart pounding in her chest. She desperately pulled the curtains shut, as if shutting out the unseen presence that threatened her sanity. Frantically, she dialed 911, her voice trembling as she recounted the events to the operator. The seconds felt like hours as she waited for help to arrive, her ears hyper-aware of every creak and whisper in her apartment. Finally, she heard a knock on the door. Her body tensed, and her breath caught in her throat. Was it the police, or was it the tormentor at her doorstep? "Who is it?" she whispered, her voice filled with apprehension. "It's me, Mike," a voice replied from the other side. "Something's not right. I heard your scream. Are you okay?" Relief washed over her like a balm. Mike was her neighbor, a dependable presence in her life. But even with his familiar voice, a lingering doubt remained. Could she truly trust anyone? She cautiously opened the door, peering into the dimly lit hallway. Mike stood there, his features distorted by the shadows. In his hand, a flashlight illuminated his concerned face. "I'm here, Lisa. What's happening?" he asked, his voice full of genuine concern. She rushed into his arms, trembling and on the verge of tears. "There's someone. They've been calling me, watching me. They know things, personal things." Mike's expression hardened, and he entered her apartment with determination. "Stay behind me, Lisa. I won't let anyone harm you." As he searched the apartment, the tension in the air thickened, each room becoming a potential hiding place for the deranged stalker. Lisa's pulse raced, her senses heightened to an almost painful level. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of a shadow, felt like a malicious presence closing in. But to her astonishment, Mike found no trace of an intruder. The emptiness of the apartment only deepened her sense of dread. Was this all in her mind, or was the stalker cunningly evading detection? As Mike returned to her side, she looked up at him, her eyes pleading for answers and reassurance. His face seemed sincere, yet a flicker of something darker passed through his gaze. "Don't worry, Lisa," he whispered, his voice laced with an unsettling mix of sympathy and malevolence. "You're safe now. No one can harm you." Her fear renewed. Lisa took a step back, her mind racing with suspicion. She clutched the phone tightly, ready to call for help again. But before she could react, Mike's smile vanished, and his expression contorted into a twisted grin. Revealing his true intentions, he held up the cell phone and pressed a button. In a bone-chilling whisper, he uttered words that froze Lisa's blood. "I can see you." The park was bathed in an eerie moonlight, casting long, grotesque shadows that danced with every rustle of the wind. A young man, barely 18, sat alone on a park bench, his chest rising and falling in the rhythm of a life that was not his own. I watched him from a distance, my heart pounding in sync with the one I had lost. The heart, Mary's heart, was beating inside this young man. It was a chilling thought, one that filled me with a strange mix of grief and determination. I approached him, my footsteps muffled by the soft grass. He didn't see me until it was too late. I struck swiftly, a small, sharp blade in my hand. It was over in seconds. I left his lifeless body on the bench, a small incision in his chest, the only sign of my gruesome act. The heart, still warm, was now in my possession. I hadn't always been this way. I was once a man of action, a private investigator who had seen the worst that humanity had to offer. But nothing could have prepared me for the loss of my wife, Mary. The car accident was sudden, brutal, and left a gaping hole in my life that I couldn't fill. Mary was vibrant, full of life and love. Her laughter filled our home. Her love filled my heart. She had always wanted to be a mother, but medical complications had made it impossible. In the aftermath of her death, I learned that Mary's organs had been donated. A part of her was still living, still giving, even in death. This thought consumed me, gnawed at me until I could think of nothing else. I had to bring her back, piece by piece, organ by organ. The heart was just the beginning. The liver, the kidneys, each organ was tracked down with the same ruthless efficiency I had once used to hunt down criminals. Each organ was retrieved with surgical precision, leaving a trail of bodies in my wake. Each retrieval was a horror show of its own. The terror in the eyes of the recipients as they realized what was happening, the life draining from them as I claimed what was once Mary's. As I collected each organ, I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. I was bringing Mary back, fulfilling her wish to give life. But with each life I took, a part of me died. I was becoming a monster, and I knew it. I looked at the organs, each one carefully preserved in a glass jar. The heart, the liver, the kidneys. Each one a part of Mary, each one a part of me. And as I looked at them, I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. I had brought Mary back, in a way, but at what cost? The police had found me in my home, surrounded by the organs I had collected. They had arrested me, charged me with multiple counts of murder. I was sentenced to death by lethal injection. The prison cell was cold, the walls closing in on me. I could hear the distant sounds of the prison, the clanging of bars, the muffled voices of guards. But all I could think about was Mary, her laughter, her love, her life. All gone, all lost. And all I had left were her organs, her pieces, her parts. I could still remember the smell of her perfume, the sound of her voice, the touch of her skin. I could still remember the way she looked at me, the way she loved me. And so, as I lay on the execution table, the lethal injection ready to end my life, and I thought about the lives I had taken, the lives I had destroyed, but I felt no remorse. I had done it for love, for Mary,